Empty your pockets, little bro.
All right, you know what to do. You've been training for this.
Hi everyone. I've been concealed carrying for the past while now, and there are some things that I've had to adjust to. Some things I didn't expect, some things I just didn't know. And so today, I'm gonna be talking about 7 things I wish I knew before concealed carrying. So the way this list is gonna work is I'm gonna list these 7 things in order of importance. So we're gonna start with the least important things and we're gonna work our way up to what I think are the most important things when it comes to concealed carrying. So number 1 is going to be your lack of mobility. Now, I didn't realize this when I began concealed carrying, but it quickly became very apparent that any movement that involved my hands going above 90 degrees was a no-go. So unless you want to expose yourself to like everybody else at the Walmart, just be very mindful of where your hands are going. Depending on the shirt you're wearing, this could vary. So larger shirts, I'll have a shot come up on screen, but larger and baggier shirts, you're gonna be able to hide it much better than if you have a tight shirt. If you wear tight shirts a lot, you're probably gonna have to change your style unless you want everybody to think you either have a massive bulge or everyone to know that you're carrying. One thing you'll also notice is that even with shirts that do go down pretty far on your body, when you do raise your hands, even if your gun isn't showing, you will be printing because your shirt will be pressing against the gun. And so just be mindful of what you're doing with your arms when you are carrying. So carrying is pretty situational, so I wouldn't carry if you plan on going and running around the field with your boys or climbing a tree or anything like that. If you plan on running around with your boys in a field or climbing trees, it's just not practical to carry and you're probably not going to want to do it. You'll also feel it pressing up against your gut, and so I just wouldn't recommend that. Adding on to that, number 2, wearing a holster. I know way too many people that think it's cool to just shove a gun down their pants. Now, if you don't want your gun to fall out of your pants or go off in your pants, please wear a holster. Don't have a holster, honestly, I would rather you just straight up not carry. Especially if you have a gun without a manual safety, it's not safe. When you do get your first carry gun, honestly, wait till your holster comes in to start carrying, because it could be the difference between having a twig and berries and not. In the video example that I'll provide, you'll be able to see an example of what might happen if you don't carry. Now, what I did was a little dramatic, but it can happen. And when you have a holster, your gun's just not gonna come out like that. The next topic, which I may have a little bit of a controversial opinion on, is should you carry with one in the chamber? In my opinion, if you don't have the confidence in your gun's abilities and your abilities to carry with one in the chamber, you probably shouldn't be carrying a gun at all. Now, let me elaborate on what I mean by your abilities and your gun's abilities. First, let's talk about your abilities. First of all, you probably shouldn't be carrying if you're not confident enough to pull out your gun and present and get a good sight picture without first pulling the trigger. So I'll have some video examples on screen. Actually, I don't advise that you do carry until you can do this over and over and over again without making a mistake. Secondly, your gun. If you don't trust your firearm and the safety mechanisms built into your firearm, you should not be carrying that firearm. For example, I carry a Glock 48. Now, Glocks have 3 safety mechanisms, one on the trigger, a drop safety, and one extra safety that makes sure the gun won't go off unless you pull the trigger. All right, there are safety mechanisms in this slide that prevent the firing pin from going forward until the trigger has been pressed. Now, I would trust this gun to point at my twig and berries all day, okay? Now, if I had a P365, or a P360 for that matter, I don't know if I'd be so confident. And so confidence in your gun and confidence in knowing that your gun's not gonna blow off your balls is really, really important. Moving on to number 4, it is uncomfortable to have a gun press against your body all day. It is never going to be completely comfortable. Believe me, The first time you put a gun into your pants, you are going to feel it all day. You're probably actually gonna feel it for the first few weeks that you start carrying. But over time, you will notice it less and less, and even though you will get more comfortable with it, and eventually the goal is to not even know it's there, it's never going to be as comfortable as just wearing pants or wearing pants and a belt without a gun, obviously. The question you should be asking now is, how can we mitigate some of that discomfort? And there are a few ways we can do that. The first way is to wear a nice belt. Now, the nicer the belt, and they make gun belts, any gun belt companies are welcome to sponsor me for this one. I'll make a video on your belt core, reach out. The nicer your belt, the less of the weight is going to be on your pants and the more of the weight on your waist, and you're not gonna notice it as much. So the second thing you can do is to get a nice holster. I carry a carbon fiber holster, and it's really light, but it is kind of hard, and I know some people probably won't like that. They do make these though with felt, and so if you don't like just the, I mean, it's smooth, but if you don't like the hard feeling against your body, you can get felt holsters, and they might do you a little bit more justice. Truthfully, after a few months, I really don't mind carrying it anymore, but especially when you're sitting, or if you're moving, or if you're running, it does get quite uncomfortable, but you really won't notice it, so that's why it's so low on the list. But the problem with discomfort is, I know that if a gun is uncomfortable to carry, you're not gonna be carrying it every day, and you should be carrying a gun every day. So try and maximize your comfort. But I do acknowledge that even at the maximum comfort level, it's still just not comfortable, and that's something you'll have to deal with. Now, number 5, that was 10, 5. Number 5, at number 5 we have firearm position. Now this is an interesting enough topic that I think it requires a whole video, and so I'm gonna link a video down below that I really like that explains the topic. Personally, I think appendix carry is the best, because that's where your hands are gonna be when you're like, you know, standing normally, or you have your hands out in front of you. It's gonna be easy to get to your firearm. Now, I know some of you out there are bigger, and for the bigger people, I know that it is going to be a little bit uncomfortable to appendix carry, and for them I would recommend hip carry. The reason I don't like hip carry is because, first of all, I feel like you're printing more, and second of all, you can feel the holster, if you're skinny like I am, you can feel the holster rubbing against your hip bone, and it's really, really uncomfortable. Now, if you are a bigger dude, I still would recommend appendix carry, because honestly, they make holsters now. I've seen ads, but I don't know what brand this is. I'll link them down below when I figure it out. They do make holsters for bigger dudes to appendix carry that makes it way less uncomfortable. The reason I have this so high on the list is because whatever position you carry every day is the position that you should be training from. If you carry appendix, always train appendix, and dry fire from appendix in your room. The 6th and second most important thing that you need to know before you start carrying are your local laws. Now, almost every single state in this country has different firearms laws. They vary very slightly, and some states are basically the same, but you need to know in what situations you can use your firearm, and more importantly, you need to know what's going to happen after you pull the trigger. So if someone breaks into your house and you shoot them, you need to know what's gonna happen when the cops arrive, what questions they're gonna ask, and what you can say, what you shouldn't say, what you should leave for your lawyer. Just do some research, because if that ever does happen, in the very rare situation where you do have to shoot somebody, you need to know what's gonna happen next. Something a lot of states have is something called a stand your ground law. The stand your ground law essentially means that I can shoot somebody that's a threat without first trying to retreat. Now, in states that don't have this, when the cops arrive, they're gonna try and figure out if you tried to run first. In many states, you're supposed to try and find an exit and get out of the situation as much as you can before you shoot. And honestly, that's what you should try to do. If you can avoid pulling your gun and shooting somebody, you're gonna avoid so much trouble. If someone's like trying to start a fight with you in the bar, go home, just like walk away. It's not worth possibly your life and theirs just because you couldn't walk away. So first order of business is to walk away. But if you can't walk away or they are in your house, then you should know your laws. Now the moment you've all been waiting for. Number one. The number one most important thing when it comes to carrying a firearm is training. Now, as you saw in that intro cinematic, if you don't train, then when the moment comes along, that 0.0001% chance that you have to pull your firearm, are you going to be able to defend yourself or are you gonna fold? Now, here's an interesting thing to think about. The firearm that you carry every day has less and less use cases the less you train. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that every single second that you manage to take off your draw time is another second that could save your life. It's another situation in which you will come out on top, in which you won't be dead, in which you'll be able to defend yourself and your family. Every second that you take off your draw time is another second that you have to win. All right, now let's think about this. You're in the situation where you have to pull your gun and use your firearm. I want you to think about the amount of adrenaline and pressure that's going to be going through your body in that moment. If your draw isn't second nature to you, you're either gonna grip the gun wrong, you're not gonna be able to find your sight picture immediately, you might drop the gun, you might have a lot of trouble handling the recoil, you might not be able to get your finger around that trigger because you grabbed it so wrong. So that's why I say at least an hour a week you should spend dry firing. Now, here's a statistic. Most self-defense shootings happen between 3 and 7 yards. That's not that far. You don't have to be a USPSA shooter to defend yourself at that range. You don't have to be John Wick. Now, at the end of this video, we're gonna have a little bit where we do shoot the drill that I'm about to tell you about, but here's what you should do, okay? On top of dry firing and practicing your draw, when you do go to the range, what you're gonna do is you're gonna set up a human-sized target anywhere from 3 to 7 yards, I'd say 5. Go 5 just to be safe. You're gonna stand with your hands above your shoulders, and when your time starts, you lift up your shirt, you draw, and you're gonna put 3 shots on target. You're gonna go for speed, accuracy, and consistency. If you have those 4 things, then you'll be good. So just 10 minutes a day, honestly, is an hour a week. And you train for an hour a week, and then maybe once a month, you go to the range. And let's say every time you go to the range, you fire 50 rounds of 9mm. That's not that expensive. Those 50 rounds and all that dry fire could save your life. All right, let's see. This is about 5 yards, I think, 15 feet. And that's like right in the middle of where I'd say you'd want to be training. So I didn't draw anything on the cardboard, so I'm just gonna be aiming very center mass of that top piece of cardboard and see how good my grouping is. 3 or 4 shots at a time, and then reholster so that I don't waste all my ammo.
2, 1, go.
So first we hit his like liver. The other 2 were pretty right next to each other. I'm gonna do it again. Let's see. Go randomly.
Go.
Let's go check that out. I think that might be a little worse. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I was low that time. Let's do that one more time. So I'm aiming low. I think my problem is, like, when you go for speed, you end up sacrificing accuracy, and the faster you go, like, sometimes the worse it gets. And so you have to find a happy medium and then slowly make it faster, and then you'll get good. So I'm gonna slow but smooth. Slow but smooth is fast. So that's what we're gonna do.
Go.
Let's go check that out. Here, here, and here. It's not too bad. All right.
Yes.
I'm just gonna go for like a good grouping with all 11 shots that I have. See how flat I can shoot.
Go!
It's not bad. If you have anything to add to this list, leave a comment down below. Make sure you like it. I'm assuming most of you who are watching this video are just starting out conceal carrying or thinking about conceal carrying. If you're thinking about conceal carrying, please carry. We have proven statistically over the years that the more people that carry in an area, the safer that area is. Now, if you're in a country where you can't carry, but you are interested in historical firearms, go check out my 2 other videos that I have up on the channel right now. We did one on the first ever semi-automatic shotgun, and we did one on the Mosin Nagant. Go check those out, subscribe, and have a good day. Now, I didn't realize this before I began concealed carrying, but it became very apparently, but it quickly became very, no! But it,